everyone, welcome to the Northland Artist Conversation. My name is Mark Kelly, I am your host. Thank you for joining us. If you're watching, you'll see that, we've had some set changes. We've got some nice comfy chairs. Last week's podcast, we had Kelly and Aaron from Northland Horror. They got to sit down just there, in the new couch. So we're going to be able to do, two guests now, which is great. So it's definitely going to broaden up our opportunities, and it's going to allow like bands. I get a couple of members from bands and stuff like that, or we've had a mother and daughter come in and do podcasts as well. So it's just going to open everything up for us. So that'll be really, really cool. It's wicked. We got to have Shane Evans come back in for his second podcast. This one was probably a little bit different. When we first sat down with Shane, we learned a lot about him. I highly recommend going back and having a look at that particular podcast. So this time around, we kind of focused on his actual comic book series that he's got at the moment, Chronicles of The Wastelands. And we got to talk about kind of the whole journey, how he got started, some of the ups and downs that he had along the way, printing, self-financing as well. And for me, it was really interesting because, when we have our guests on, it's always really good to learn about them and talk with them and find out who they are, but we don't often get the opportunity to kind of do like a bit of a follow-up and learn a bit more about them later on. I mean, we've had guests like Ash Ellis, who came back in and she had an amazing change in her life. So to get Shane back in, and he's at that point now where he's very focused on his work and what he's doing. It was just, it was super cool. I actually bought book 2. So there you go. And I decided to treat producer Andrew, and book 1 and book 2, he's throwing me the thumbs up. So very cool. I'm going to flick to my wide, my camera. That was the wide. I'm going into my camera now. So this was a really cool podcast. Shane is one of those sorts of people that once you start talking with him about what he's passionate about, he really gets going. And it was great. It was nice to have him really talkative and thoroughly enjoying what we were talking about. The whole podcast just went by super fast, and we had a few laughs, and as we always do, and it was very cool all around. And as someone, I think the easiest way, we did the rapid fire, and one of the questions was, I'm paraphrasing, what is one of your biggest regrets? And he said not having started doing his own comics earlier. And to me, that kind of speaks volumes, right? He's around my age, and if he'd have started doing it like 20, 30 years ago, where would he be now? But he's out there and he's doing it, self-promoting, and it's very cool. So again, I'll show you the comic as well. Here's the back page, which is absolutely wicked. So this is book 2. Definitely. You know what I'm going to do? I'm actually going to shut up. I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to let you guys enjoy this. Let's sit down and have another conversation with Shane Evans. Because that's hilarious. Oh, Mr. Shane Evans, thank you very much for joining us once again on the Northland Artist Conversation. It's lovely to have you here. I'm going to get you to drop your mic just a little bit. It's a little bit too high. It's kind of blocking up your face. Down. That's a shame. Good. Yeah, nah. We want to see you in all your glorious manly beauty.
I'll keep my shirt on.
Now that you've got your... Oh, look, we don't want to get demonetized or anything, Well, Shane, by the way, has come to announce that he's starting an OnlyFans. No... Feed fetish. No, I'm kidding. It's really cool to have you back, and it was super important to get you in earlier, and sooner rather than later, because you've had a couple of really big events happen since the first podcast.
Yeah.
So, if the people that are watching and listening at home, Shane's original podcast is further back. Was last.
It was I can't remember
earlier this year, and we got to know Shane quite well. You talked about your time working at the cinemas up in Kerikeri, and then sort of how things happen and you moved around, and some of the stories about you painting in Auckland and stuff.
Yeah.
So I guess what I'd like to focus on today is kind of the journey that you're in now, because you've brought in your comics now. For people that are watching at home, we'll have the wide. We've got Chronicles of the Wastelands book one.
Book one, Bean Flash.
Book one, and Chronicles of the Wastelands, book two. Now, we're recording this on the 28th of October, and the book two came out on the weekend just gone, when the Sandbox Fandom Festival was. And what makes it even more amazing is you weren't even here.
No, I didn't see my book until about 5 or 6 other people had.
Yeah. And to me, that's absolutely, it's just bonkers. The fact that people coming to an event like Sandbox got to see and touch and feel the comic before you got your grotty hands on it.
Yeah, and I was kind of hoping it turned out good.
And I have to say, it turned out great. The detail in there has been really cool. I got to have a look at it on the Friday night before the event opened, and it's definitely a step up from book one.
Yeah.
So I think we should sort of let's start with book one, kind of the journey that you had going through to, I guess the inspiration, through to inception, design, creation, then publication. So how did Chronicles of the Wastelands kind of come about for you?
It's one of those things I've worked with people, and I've done covers for books, and I've done cartoon illustration for other people. I've basically done a lot of almost comics. I've done lots of work for everyone else, and I've never done a complete comic myself.
Wait, at all?
No.
And how long have you been doing comics for? I'm going to ask, it's going to be the hard questions tonight.
I've been drawing comics for other people for more than 20 years.
And this is the first time you put pen and paper for yourself?
Yes.
Wow, okay.
And did a full issue too.
Yeah.
So, and then I thought, why not make it even harder and do more than one issue?
I mean, why not?
Why not?
So where did Chronicles of the Wastelands, where did that idea kind of come from?
Well, you've got to kind of, because comics are very time consuming, you've got to do something, a story that you want to do, like something that's fun. It doesn't have to be deep and meaningful or anything, but you realize you're going to spend months doing each story.
Oh, we're talking months.
The second issue took 4 months, and
how
that
long
was quicker than the first one.
Okay, I'm going to ask, how long did the first one take?
Well, the first one was, if you see some of the original artwork, some of the dates are 2 years apart.
Wow.
But I was helping other people do comics.
So you were like kind of doing a little bit of your own, helping other people, doing a little bit of your own. Right.
And then I kind of got to the point where I got wound up a bit annoyed with working on other people's comics that weren't seeing the light of day.
Yeah, I mean, you obviously, as any sort of artist, you put a massive amount of time, energy, and effort into something, with the ultimate goal being for it to come to fruition, right?
Yeah.
You don't go, man, I'm going to invest 100 hours for nothing because it's a Friday.
That's kind of what it felt like. And then I just figured, you know what, I'm just going to do it myself.
Yep.
Including everything. I published it myself, oh,
wow.
I paid someone to help lay it up and print it, but no Kickstarter or any of that stuff. I just thought, I'm just going to do it.
Yeah.
No excuses.
So
just get it done.
I'll go back to the original question. Where did the Chronicles of Wasteland come from?
Well, again, trying to pick a story that appealed to me.
Yep.
I had to kind of sit down and I basically sat down, looked at my DVDs, my book collection.
Oh, wow. Yeah, of course.
Just everything I kind of was influenced by, and just went, what are the most basic types of stories that I love?
Yep.
And what do I think I can work on?
Okay.
and it's a wee bit of a mix with He-Man, but that's more
Masters of the Universe, right?
That's more the style of drawing cartoon.
Okay, right, yep.
Style.
Yep. So it's not science fantasy type stuff, is it?
No, not really.
Okay.
I also love post-apocalyptic movies.
Oh, I can think of
So
Mad Max.
Yes, well, my son Max will tell you that I quite like Mad Max.
I wonder why.
It's also Where the Wild Things Are too. There's 2 reasons he's named that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I worked out that these are the type of things I loved. And there's a wee bit of horror that's getting slowly introduced into it as it goes.
Right, okay.
So it's kind of combining all the things I like. So at least if I find it interesting and I'm not bored with it, hopefully the person reading will also find it interesting.
Now, it's interesting that you talk about horror. On the last podcast, we do kind of have a bit of a back and forth at the end about horror in general. But you've kind of got a bit of a specific niche taste for horror, don't you? It's not your traditional films, like it's not Insidious or any of the big franchises, is it? It's kind of your really. Smaller.
Yeah. I'm not really into the I've seen the first 2 Saws.
Oh, yep.
But I've heard 10's coming out.
Sure.
So I've skipped all those. I don't care.
Okay, yep.
I've seen the first Conjuring.
Yes.
Which I thought was great.
That's amazing.
Didn't care about seeing the next one.
Next one's okay, but I think it's for a lot of those films, it's the law of diminishing returns, right? The first one is the flagship, and it goes, and everyone's like, it's an amazing sensation. And then they go, let's turn this into a cash cow.
Yeah.
And then we have a franchise. We have The Conjuring. And then we go, wait, Annabelle was quite exciting. Let's turn that into a franchise. And then we go, man, the nun from The Conjuring 2, scary as shit, by the way, still terrifies me. Let's give her a franchise.
Yeah.
Conjuring 4 is not too far away.
Yeah. I mean, the closest thing to a horror that I've seen most of the sequels in, well, actually, the one I have seen all the sequels in is Evil Dead.
Oh, wow.
But being the first movie was so iconic and basically started a whole trend of cabin in the woods.
Yes, it did.
So, it's one of the classics.
Yeah, it's kind of, that for me is kind of one of the, those films that you can look back on it now and you go, man, some of that, it looks cheap.
Yeah.
Looks grimy. But that's almost how it's meant to look, right?
Yeah.
It's not meant to look like $100 million budget.
Yeah.
It's meant to look like, a quick whip round with the hat. Go, right, we got $6.40. Let's shoot a scene.
Well, that film was like $400,000.
Is that all?
But most of that was the film and processing.
Yeah.
So if they had a digital camera back then, they probably could have made the film for $50,000.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And so how much of like those sorts of influences were in the first one, in book one?
I think the first one it's a setup, so it's not too crazy.
Yeah.
I've tried to make the story very easy to follow. So the influences are there very lightly, but I'm not. A lot of the films and stuff I like are not everyone's taste, and they're a wee bit
unique
and violent, and sometimes
and unique,
obscene.
Well, I mean, you introduced me to Terrifier. What can I say?
So this is more of a. It's almost an action-adventure thing that kids could read, but unfortunately there is a wee bit of swearing.
Yes.
And as someone mentioned, you're not allowed to have nipples.
No, wow. That's interesting. Swearing and nipples, not allowed, but the violence is okay.
Violence is absolutely fine.
To me, makes not a lot of sense.
It's Well, it's
okay.
It's similar to TV.
Sure, we can blow body parts up, but if we have a nip slip, that thing's going on after 9. Right. So, what was you've started working on book 1?
Yeah.
And you're kind of through there. Do you reach a point where you go, actually, this is going to be a series and it's going to be X number of issues, or do you go, there's definitely got to be another book after this?
Yeah. I had the story for about half of issue 1. I was thinking of just doing 2 issues and making it very short and very silly and just having everyone die.
Okay, sure.
But after showing it to a few people and getting some feedback, they convinced me to make it longer.
Yeah.
And I actually agree with them now. And I'm probably going for 4 issues, but it may be 5. So it's probably going to be at least another year's worth of work.
But that's amazing. I mean, so Chronicles of the Wastelands book 1 came out when?
That's a good question.
That's what I'm here for. I'm here for the good questions.
It's all a blur to me. I can't remember.
Okay, so is it 6 months, a year?
It was at one of the last Armageddons, and it was at one of the last plunges.
So this year's plunge was April.
Yeah.
Was it at the one before that? No, that was Incredible, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So you've had it since April.
Yeah.
And it had only been out for like a month or two at that point,
about
right?
that, yeah.
Yeah, so around February. And then did you give yourself much of a rest period before going, you know what, I'm going to start book 2 now?
Actually, as I was finishing book 1, I had notes and half of it planned out for book 2.
Wow, okay.
Because the weird thing about publishing something is like it's a lot of work. It's sometimes drags on. Sometimes you want to screw up pages, throw it against the wall.
Yeah.
But once you see it in print and time reading it, it's like, this was awesome. Love it.
I imagine that it's the same sort of feeling that like authors will have. You know, they spend a large amount of time on, you know, if it's like a book of short stories or if it's a full novel. You know, you have these moments where you love your project. And it's the greatest thing in the world, and you're going to be delivering a masterpiece. And then there are moments where you're like, you question your life, you question your choices. How do you get through those moments?
I think because I'm getting older, and like I said, I've done a lot of work for other people.
Yeah.
I got to the point where, because I thought about doing comics before for myself, but I always wanted to make the masterpiece. I always wanted to make the epic, beautifully drawn, you know, grand statement that everyone would be like, this is amazing, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And I was just watching a few random YouTube clips from artists, and there was a few things that they had in common where they said, if you don't make anything, it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
If you don't publish it,
Yeah.
it never exists. So you can have the greatest plan, you can have the best artwork.
Yeah.
If no one sees it, it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
So they
Wow,
said,
okay.
lower your expectations and just make something.
Yeah. Okay.
So it kind of sounds like, you know, oh, well, he's just rushing something out. But it's more the fact of just do it. So you've actually done it. And because you learn from doing too. So
yeah. Which leads me on to my next series of questions. So you have a completed. It's not a comic. It's not. Is it a manuscript? What's the term for it? Finished, but not in the printed stage.
For my first one, I plotted it. If you know about comics, there's a thing called sort of the Marvel style.
Right. Yeah.
When they used to plot it, where they basically wrote down the actions.
Okay.
So they didn't do the dialogue. They just said what would happen, roughly how many pages, what happens next, like which character does this, and what happens at the end of the book.
So it's like a story outline type thing, right?
It's just an outline, and then you just draw it, and then you fill the dialogue in when you kind of see, because sometimes you're drawing things, you change it.
Yeah, right.
So if you got a character that in your mind was like, oh, he's going to be calm and collected, but when you're drawing it, it's like, he'll look better if he's like really angry. Or
chaotic.
He'll look better if he's, if you know, about to break.
Yeah.
You change the dialogue to suit it.
Okay. So when you've been amazingly kind, and you've actually brought some of the original pieces in, which is great, and we'll get to those a bit later. When you have all your pieces and they're on A3 paper?
Yeah, A3.
A3. And then how do you find someone that's not going to ruin the vision, or is going to embrace the vision as much as you have?
Well, there's a company that New Zealand books called Funtime Comics.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
And I'd seen them for years. I've got a couple. Like before I even talked to them, I had a couple. I always thought they were quite well done, quite nicely put together. And just knowing that they were a New Zealander, I just started talking to Jason Lenny online.
Okay.
And just asking him a lot of questions and saying what I'd like to do.
Yeah.
That sort of stuff. He gave me some advice and...
Oh, wow. Okay. What was the advice he gave you?
Oh, it's just little things like how to set it up and paper stock and all this sort of stuff. Different printing.
Right, okay.
Different printing does this, just practical things.
Okay.
Because I had the artistic thing sorted. I knew what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Had the story sorted.
But I guess the technical side of things.
Technical side, yeah.
Not so much. Okay.
He didn't really offer any advice on the script or anything. He didn't actually get to see it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So literally you're, emailing him or couriering him?
Emailing.
Okay.
Just on Facebook and stuff.
Right.
He's an easy guy to talk to.
So when the project's finished and you're like, okay, cool, he's my guy, I'm going to send it to, are you sending like a courier roll of all your drawings, or are you sending PDFs?
I scan them myself.
You scan
later
them, right.
up. So he's getting all digital files.
Right, cool.
So.
And then is there much back and forth between like layout and paper choice and stuff like that?
I had most of the layout and everything sorted.
Right, okay.
I asked him a couple of questions here and there. He made some suggestions, which were quite helpful because he knows what prints nicely.
Yeah, okay.
And then we had a bit of a backwards and forwards over the paper stock and stuff, but I told him what sort of look I was after.
Right.
So
I'm going to grab comic one, hopefully, book one, hopefully book two doesn't fall over. It hasn't. Now this is, I'm apologising in advance, I'm going to get reflection off the light. I might try holding it up to my camera. That side, producer Andrew throws me a big thumbs up.
Fantastic gloss on it.
Super gloss. And it's definitely a you can definitely tell by our hero on the cover that he's got the heroic stance, the pose, the majesticness, the machismo, if you will.
Well, if you swap the sword out for a shotgun and change the car to a police car.
No.
It is a homage to the original Mad Max painted poster.
I knew it was. That's brilliant. That is so cool. So yes, you can see it now.
But the original Mad Max poster didn't actually have Max on it. It had Goose.
What?
Well, it had a guy riding the bike on the cover. And that was Goose.
Wasn't really?
Yeah, it was a guy with a helmet on, so they didn't have to paint the face and stuff.
Oh, wow. Because I only remember the original Mad Max poster with Max standing there like that. Yeah, that's kind of how I remember it.
Well, they had a couple of posters, but one of the first ones was painted. And
wow.
Actually, they found Goose to be more interesting.
Than Mel Gibson.
Yeah. Well, he had more words, had more dialogue.
He did, actually. Now, how many pages is book one?
It's 24 pages of story and 4 pages of extras. 24 is what a standard comic is meant to be, but some of them are 17 and stuff with all the ads they throw in. So there's no ads in there.
Right, okay. And you've got bonus sketchbook pages as well. Oh, these are some of the behind the scenes, right?
Yeah.
That's quite cool. So it's like you've got the movie and then you've got the DVD extras.
Basically.
Far out. That is very cool. I mean, we can see here thumbnails and roughs for page layouts and changes. I'm going to hold that up there. That's that page there. It's pretty cool. When I first saw it, I was looking at it going, is this where the kids can colour in?
If they buy it, they can colour in the whole book. It's black and white.
The whole book if you want. Yeah, now that is an interesting design choice. Why black and white?
Cost.
Is that simply all it is?
Also, I grew up on Judge Dredd. A lot of the old Judge Dredds, black and white. The old Conan, Savage Sword.
Yep.
Black and white. I do love a lot of black and white artwork, but cost is a giant factor too.
What? So the cost in the initial production or the cost in the replication?
Printing cost, yeah.
So the replication side of things. Wow.
I mean, I could have coloured it anything. It wouldn't. I could have done it full colour.
Yeah.
But I was thinking ahead because it's not a money making venture.
No. So No, I don't imagine it is. So this says, hey, copyright NZ and is copyright 2023 by Shane Evans. Start of the year. So how many of these have you sold, do you think?
Well, we did a print run of 100, which is
Okay.
apparently quite ambitious for New Zealand.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I have 3 left in my possession,
3.
and there might be about 5 or 6 in Christchurch.
And that's it.
There might be a couple at Armageddon too.
Oh, the one that's coming up?
Well, I dropped some off at the last event because I went down there.
Oh, yep. Okay.
So there may be another 10 or so floating around the country.
Far out. So you've essentially now, have you sold all of them or have you given them away?
Sold.
Wow. So
Gotta pay for my printing.
you do. So one of these is how much?
$10.
So it's $10, right? So
Yeah.
you sell 100, that's $1,000, right?
Yeah.
Is that break even, or is that I've got a wee way to go? Or
There is a profit technically if you look at it like that,
yeah,
but for the amount of work in it, it is a minus.
yes. Well,
Like-
if you spent 6 months on this,
Like if you want to know, the cost price is almost $7,
oh, okay.
so you don't make money on it.
So yeah, so if people are interested in getting into comics, so I mean,
Yeah.
the reality I think is quite important,
Yeah.
right? Now I imagine that the cost is quite high because of the
Small run.
small run, and also the quality as well.
Yeah,
Because this isn't the flimsy,
no.
cheap paper or card or stock, is it?
That's like I said. I had a discussion on what would print nicely,
Yeah.
and suit the artwork and stuff.
Yeah. So I mean that's very cool, and I bought one of these relatively early on, and I'll be honest, ladies and gentlemen, I've read it a few times, because it's very cool, and it's like a Kiwiana Mad Max.
Yeah,
In some
Mad Max
ways.
is a very like the Kiwis adopted it.
Yeah.
I mean, I watched it because of my brothers.
Now that's interesting. How old were you when you watched it, pray tell?
Not 18 like I was meant to be.
Because when that film came out into New Zealand,
It was R18.
well, initially it was banned.
Exactly.
And then when it did get released, it got the big old R18 certificate on the VHS.
I was not 18.
Not 18. We'll leave it at that, shall we? So with Chronicles of Wasteland Book 1, how do you feel it's gone in terms of your expectations?
I'm actually quite happy with it because I had no idea if it would sell. I had no idea if people would care. I had no idea if I'd get good responses. I was just doing it because I wanted to do a comic. I just thought I'm a comic lover. I've done work for everyone else, haven't done my own. I just have to do it now or I'll never do it. But the fact that it's almost gone and people actually, I've sold quite a few copies of issue 2 already.
Yeah.
Shows that someone likes it. So I'm good. I'm happy.
Northland Artists Conversation is proud to support 116. 116 are located on Bank Street in Whangarei, and an amazing venue that you can actually hire. If you're looking to hold an event or looking to hire a venue for a special occasion, 116 on Bank Street are an absolutely fantastic place. You can simply contact them via email off their website or through Facebook as well. 116 have had such amazing events in the past as the Whangarei Fringe Festival, and they've also held the Plunge Pop Culture Convention there as well. They also have local artists that also put performances on, as well as incoming artists that come into the region as well and want to be able to do things like have plays or perform music or any of those sorts of cool things. 116 are also home to the amazing Beagle radio station as well, which is a local initiative that is all set up with some very, very talented people that actually love what they do, and they do it all for free. So it's very, very cool. So 116 on Bank Street, proudly supported by the Northland Artists Conversation. With Chronicles of the Wastelands Book 1 having been done and dusted, was there much of a break for you between the first one and the second one?
No. I was on a high from getting it printed,
Right, okay.
getting good reactions, and because like I said, I had it planned to be 2-part, and then I changed it.
Yeah.
So I basically had the next book planned.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
So whilst the momentum is there and people are engaged, you're like, I'm going to get things done, right?
Yeah.
What were the lessons that you learnt between book 1 and book 2?
Lessons I learned? That's a tricky one. I mean, I know what I kind of changed from the printing side of things.
Mm-hmm.
I tried the tones and dots and stuff in the first issue.
Right, yeah.
Which looked fantastic on all the test prints we did, but when it came out, it had a slight moire pattern, which is where it messes with your eyes.
Oh, like the dots are kind of close but not close, and then it's like, ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So I changed that to just grayscale in the next issue. So
okay.
if people spot that, it's pretty obvious. But I think that print's nicer.
Yeah.
I also realised, like I said, I kept the story quite simple.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, being simple means you can read it in 5 minutes.
Right, okay, yeah.
So I thought I'm going to put a wee bit more dialogue and a wee bit more build-up in the second one.
Yeah.
But I had extended the story too, so it needed it.
Yeah. So the first one kind of sets up the world, establishes the world as a whole. So that really needs to be as engaging as possible, right?
Yeah.
Second one, you can sort of start diving into a bit more character depth.
Basically,
yeah. Okay. Now, the second one isn't focused on our hero so much, is it?
Well, there was a few people that made comments about the hero being the main focus and girls being second fiddle and stuff like that.
Okay, yeah.
But in my head, the female characters were always a big part of it because the two main heroes, male and female, are basically a team.
Right, okay.
Like he's the muscle, but she's pretty feisty and she's pretty smart.
Yeah, okay.
And the two villains, I mean, one of them picks up a female, if you've read the first one, as a helper. Mm-hmm. So there's basically a male and female villain team too.
Oh, right. Okay.
So, and the female villain is probably more powerful than the male. So.
Oh, wow.
So, I don't think... It may look like a boys' book from the first one, but the second one is a lot more evenly balanced.
I was going to say, the first one definitely seems more male-centric.
Yeah.
And with the woman sort of playing, I guess, supporting characters, right? But if it's going over a 5-book arc, you have time where you go, well, book 1 introduces essentially the male protagonist.
Yep.
Book 2 can introduce the female protagonist, right?
Yeah.
Is that the approach that you sort of took with it? And then you were like, book 3 and 4, it'll be kind of them coming together and doing
it's
shit.
Kind of just a natural progression, actually, because like I said, I had the characters roughly planned out.
Yeah.
So it wasn't deliberately done. It was just the start of the story was rescuing someone.
Mm-hmm.
And, by the end of the first book, you're setting up the next two because they're both together now. They're both back as a team.
Right, okay. How... I guess as someone who, I mean, I can't draw to save my life. If you want me to draw a picture of Knight Rider side on, man, I'm your guy. Or Kit, rather, not even Knight Rider. But if you want me to draw Kit side on, man, I'm the dude. I can draw it in like great dimensions, but anything else is just a nightmare. So I have a lot of respect for people that can draw and do a lot of the creative arts that I can't do because it's like, man, I really wish I could do that. With the first book, if you were to, if it took a 6-month period, give or take.
Yep. Over a couple of years.
How many hours would you say you roughly threw into that? And are we talking like ridiculously late nights, or are you going, I'm going to work until like 10 o'clock at night and then I'm going to go to bed?
Well, I did a lot less exercise than I used to do.
Okay, yep.
I did quite a few late nights.
How late are we talking?
Well, I used to stay up till 2 or 3 anyway, but so probably just like 11, 12... 1 probably was the average, actually, 1 o'clock.
Wow.
But I mean, that's starting at like 7, so it's not
okay, right?
You got to have food and everything else and do all the other stuff.
So you're still putting in like essentially you're working a full-time job, and then you're essentially coming home
there's another job
and working a full-time job,
for free,
for $1,000.
Free.
Yeah, free. So with the second book, and with all of that in mind, was there anything you did differently this time around? Were you able to streamline it? Were you able to refine the process? Now that you've got more story in your head, and these characters are developed, did that cut down a lot, or were you like, no, I wait till 4 because I've got less time to try and get out the same high quality product?
I tried to improve it, so
Right.
I didn't streamline it much at all. I didn't have to design the characters,
No,
so that was good.
That's an
All I
advantage.
had to do was pick up issue 1 and look at them again.
yeah,
So that sped up that part of things, but I was more ambitious with some of the page layouts, and I tried a few things.
Do you have any examples?
Well, there's a couple of creative pages in here.
Okay, yep, cool. Let's have a look. You've got another one in there?
Yep.
Okay, you chuck me the one that you're holding, and you grab that one. Let's have a look. Very, very tempted. Okay, so what page are we looking at?
The one of the this page here.
Which is... Oh, I think I was just on that one. Hang on. Where... Nope. Oh, it's nowhere near it. I think I've got the first comic.
It's near the front.
Is it near? It's near.
Yeah.
Right, I'm going to have to turn every bloody page now.
Bear
Bear with us, sports fan. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So this one here, I'm going to hold this up to my camera. Yep, cool.
Yeah.
So what are we looking at here?
Well, a lot of the first comic was kind of like it's the old style is kind of 6 or 8 page grid, so it's a very simple, easy to read style.
So I'm going to put this one down and hold that one up.
Like you can see it. I haven't been too loose or creative with the. That's one of the wilder pages in the first one.
You're right.
But I kept it simple too, so it was easy to read and easy to follow.
Yeah. Now, I'm going to put them up and compare them. Actually, I'm going to have to swap hands. And I'm going to do it on my wide as well so people can see. So, if we do that.
Yeah. So, this is part of a fight scene, but I wanted it to be not just a normal step-by-step.
Yeah.
So, it's just a few creative ideas where I just thought, I'm going to try something crazy, have a guy in the middle that's already been sliced.
Yeah. I forgot I opened the bloodiest page. Of course
be creative with the layout, and it's just slightly different things. Because there are a lot of the standard layouts.
Yep, there's that one there,
Yep.
which is very standard layout,
Yep.
which is what, 8, is it 6,
Yeah.
5 or 6 panels per page?
Easy to follow.
Yep.
Good for reading, nice and clear.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's just a few pages where I got a bit it's
that
hard.
one.
It's hard, make the panels off kilter and a bit out of balance because there's action on the page, and it's hard to explain little differences. But just going crazy with like the kind of fake speed lines in the cars and stuff.
Oh yeah,
it's not something I normally do.
So this is the safety book.
Well, that's the first one, and when I picked up, like, I still like the artwork and stuff, but when there were certain things in there that I tried,
Yeah.
and when it worked, I knew I could do it again.
Okay.
Things that didn't work, I just leave it out.
Yeah.
Move on.
It seems like you've taken a few more risks in book 2 than you have with book 1. Is that because with book 1 you want it to be as accessible as possible?
Basically, yeah.
So book 2 is where you can start making some more creative choices and decisions.
Yep.
Yeah.
It also keeps it interesting for me.
Yeah.
I mean, just to get a bit more creative with it.
I just realised that.
Oh, yes. For the first book, I had the hero on the cover.
Yeah.
And the villain on the back. And for the second book, I swapped it around.
Brilliant.
And in the third and fourth books, it may be the female characters on the front.
Oh, nice.
So.
That'd be cool. So with book number 2, and obviously the just unfortunate timing of a holiday and an event coming up, how well has it sold so far?
At the event, it sold a few copies.
Yep, cool.
Well, I sold a lot more with the first book, but that's because I was there.
Yes.
And I could sign it and I could talk about it. But in the week following, I think I've sold about 30 copies.
Wait, so to give people context, Sandbox was on, if it's 28th today,
About a week, wasn't it? Just 1 day less than 6 days ago?
Yeah, 5 days ago.
Yeah.
5 days ago. So on the 23rd, Sandbox.
Yeah.
you weren't here, and you got back on the Sunday, being the 24th.
Yep.
So 25th, 6th, 7th, and 8th, you've sold 30 copies in 4 days.
Yeah.
Wow.
And quite a few of them are new readers too, which is why book 1 is running out.
Oh, wow.
Because people are like, I want both.
So they are buying both.
Yeah. So
Okay.
book 1 I may have to
A
reprint
reprint. Will that be a lesser cost?
No.
Okay, right.
No design fee, of course, but
Yep.
but because the quantities, I won't reprint 100. I'll reprint less.
Oh, okay.
I don't think I'll get to another 100.
Why not? Did you think you'd get to 100 the first time round?
No.
So why not print another 100?
Well, if I print another 100, then I'm 100 short of issue 2.
Yes. It's a fair comment.
So we'll see how it goes. I mean, when it sells out, well, we'll see how it goes.
Right.
And it will sell out because there's only 3 or 4 left on my position.
Yeah. We were talking beforehand. There's not many left.
And there's a couple in Auckland at Heroes for Sale, Christchurch at Ride On Sound, and Pop Weasel.
Yeah.
And there'll be a couple with Adrian, I'm going to get his name wrong, Kennard.
Apologies in advance, Adrian.
Yeah, he wrote the New Zealand book about cartooning.
Oh, yes. Yep.
He's got that because he runs the Armageddon page.
Oh, wow.
The New Zealand comics people that goes to Armageddon.
Yeah. Oh, very cool. Now, you've brought your folder and your folio? What is it?
I've just brought some pages.
Brought some pages. Let's have a look at some of these pages. Are they some of the more original pages?
The original pages.
So people that are watching the podcast are going to get to see this.
Yeah, so there's no tones, there's no digital tones,
Yeah.
there's no text.
Let's have a look at some of them. We'll keep them PG. We're a family show. Yeah, no, pick wisely.
I'll just have to look through this first.
I'm gonna. So Shane's gonna go through. I'm gonna hold them up to my camera. And what I'll get you to do is I'll get you to maybe sort of talk about some of the differences between what you drew versus what may have ended up in the book. Because I think it's kind of nice to see what the difference might be. Is there anything that's suitable?
They're all violent. There's no nipples.
Okay, cool. Well, I think that's important. Now, if I was to pick one that was different from the comic, which one would I pick? Or are all of them different?
Most of those are the same.
Okay.
There is a page in there that's actually corrections. If you find the page that's half empty, it's where I scanned it in and placed it over other panels.
This one?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's have a look at this one. I'll give those back to you, if that's okay. So here, what we have here is we have the original, all right, with the big chunky.
Well, those are actually corrections. So
these are corrections.
2 pages worth of corrections.
Wow. Now, for people that may not be able to see it, there's actually a little note.
Yeah.
Just to the top left. And this what does that say?
I think that's. I can't see it from here.
Okay, cool. He needs
So
glasses.
insert, yeah.
Page 13, insert. Now, does that mean that you take the page that's currently there and you replace it with this, and then you take what's left on and then you put it in the blank spot?
Yeah.
How does that work?
Well, because I was scanning it, the original pages.
Yeah.
I basically, in Photoshop, chopped out the middle chunk I wasn't happy with.
Right.
Scanned that, placed it back in there.
Is this from book 1 or book 2?
Book 2.
Book 2. Do you have the one that you've got there?
Well, you'll see that it looks like that now because before I wasn't happy with the drawing. So
okay. I'm curious to see what the insert piece was.
This page.
Okay. And it is this one here?
Yeah.
Okay, so I will do that.
Yeah, so before, instead of 3 panels, it was actually just 2 panels.
Oh, wow.
And after talking to a few people, mainly Rico Searle, and a couple other people, he said it wasn't quite clear what happened action-wise.
Yeah.
So I basically inserted another panel that made it a lot clearer what she did with the axe.
Right, yep. It's... I mean, you can definitely tell that there is depth in there now, which is just absolutely brilliant. And I think a good call by Rico.
Yeah, yeah. Well, he's read about 9 million comics. He's got a bit of experience.
Well, he owns about 9 million comics, doesn't he?
Yeah.
I'll hand that back to you. It's really interesting to see, like, inserts, because it's not, to me it's, like when you have a finished manuscript, right?
Yeah.
It then gets sent away to an editor, and there's might have a couple of polishes or a couple of passes. But essentially, you are your own editor, right?
Yeah, but I'm not stubborn enough to think that everything I put down is going to be clear and easy to read for someone else.
Okay.
So I get a few people to look at them, make comments, and if if someone's reading it and they go, that bit's unclear, I'll make a note.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
I ask for suggestions.
Yeah.
Sometimes I listen.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I don't.
Right.
Because I know what I've got coming up in the next issue, and
of
I've
course,
got planned.
you need to have continuity. So if something happens here, and they go, that doesn't make any sense, you go, well, actually, in book 4, that's going to make all the sense in the world. Right.
But if they make a good point, I will gladly listen, and I'll gladly alter it, and I'll gladly edit.
Oh wow!
I'm not stubborn.
Well, you're not precious.
No, I'm trying to make something that people follow and can read, and they like. So if it's unclear, that's an issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an issue for the issue.
Yeah.
It is.
It is.
Okay.
Any more puns?
I'm very punny tonight.
Okay.
So what book 2 is out.
Yeah.
And we've had Sandbox has been and gone.
Yeah.
And you've had some big sales come out of it.
Good sales so
Good
far.
sales so far. So where are the next kind of steps now? Do you go, I really want to get back to drawing puff and stuff and Witchy Poo skateboards? Or do you go, I need to get back into this?
That was a fantastic.
That was a horrific skateboard, and I'm glad I put $20 of my own money in to have it gone. To the lovely lady who works for Whangarei District Council.
I can draw it again.
Who bought that skateboard on Saturday. Thank you so much. Thank you for laughing at me when I told you the story behind Puff and Stuff and Witchy Poo. I really appreciate it. But what is the next what are the next steps now? Do you take a break? Do you kind of get back on the wagon?
I am going to have a week or 2 break.
Right, okay.
Because with the issue 2, when I found out the date, and I'd done most of the work, I thought if I can crank this out for Sandbox, it'll be fantastic.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of late nights then.
How late are we talking?
2ish.
Okay, right.
For about.
So you're getting like
for about
3-4 hours sleep.
For about 2 weeks.
Wow. Wow.
But I had all the artwork done. It was the dialogue and the tones and stuff. And then going back and tweaking stuff.
Yeah.
So, because even though I was rushing, I was like, it still has to make sense. It's still going to be clear.
And you've still got to make the correct editorial choices as well, right?
Yeah.
So, book 3.
Yep.
Book 3. Is there anything you can kind of give us, like clues or hints? Something that our listeners and viewers can kind of get a first of? Because I think this is amazing.
Book 3 is going to start with a bit of a... it's hard to say.
No, it's not. Words just come out.
I'm trying to make book 3 start with a couple of pages where you go, what the hell is happening here?
Oh, really? Okay.
And did that just happen?
Yeah, right.
And it's probably going to go, because of the nature of the story, it's probably going to go more to the, like I said, it's a post-apocalyptic and a bit of a horror.
Yeah.
It's probably going to start leaning more on the horror side.
Okay, so I'm gonna reference the original Star Wars trilogy because we're boomers, so it's the best. So you have Star Wars, the first one, or A New Hope.
Yep.
And that's kind of it introduces us to the characters. We get the feel-good story at the end. We then get Return of the Jedi at the end, which is all redemption and the character arcs, and it's beautiful. But the middle one is the dark one.
Yep.
It's where shit goes wrong.
Yep.
Is that what's going to happen with book 3?
Pretty much.
Outstanding. So all our heroes are going to be in peril.
Yep.
And that's when it's going to be a bit more gratuitous, right? With the violence.
Well, the violence is probably going to be similar, but there might be a few more pages of it.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
Okay. So still the same length, with more.
It's still going to have a bit of a build-up in the middle.
Yeah,
but,
okay.
I like to try and end each issue with a cliffhanger.
Excellent. Excellent. So the last question I'm going to ask you around this.
Yeah.
When could we expect book 3? I know it's the arsehole question, eh? You're like, I've just released book 2. Give me a break.
Well, like I said, book 3 took 3 months. The first one took about 6 months. So I'm hoping within 6 months I have the next one done, because I'm not as rushed. But if I get into the flow, hopefully 4 months.
That'd be amazing. So essentially, we could be looking at like Easter next year, right?
Yeah, I'm going to try and get 2 more done for next year.
Oh wow! So like kind of 2 a year, and then 2025 ends with the last one,
yeah,
right?
well, it's because of the way it's planned right now. It might only be 4 issues, but it might be 5.
Okay.
Because like I said, I have the basic plot, but because I kind of freestyle write it as it goes, and I sometimes I think of ideas that I think will make it better.
Yeah.
You like a couple of the characters are kind of expanded.
Okay.
So yeah.
Going to use a word now, and it's quite a common word for the Walking Dead series. Spin-off. Are there any characters so far that essentially could be spun off into their own stories?
Well, when I was mucking around with it years ago, I drew lots of characters.
Oh, okay.
So I could actually quite easily have spin-offs. And
Wow.
I have thought about doing 1-issue spin-offs and stuff like that. Like
That'd be cool.
Pick a character, do a 24-page book that's just a solo story.
That'd be pretty
Not a
interesting.
Han Solo story, a good story.
Oh, wow. Wow. The cheap shot at the Star Wars franchise. Admittedly, Solo was not as good as it could have been.
Or at all.
It could have been better.
Like getting an actor with charisma.
Oh, this is not going to turn into the Slam Solo podcast.
No, I could slam all of them.
No, not all of them. Rogue One was great.
Oh yeah, that's actually great.
Thank you very much.
Even though you know the ending from the start.
Yeah, but that's so cool. It's you know what's going to happen, but it's how they get to that journey that's amazing.
Why are the dark ones always our favourites? Because those are Empire Strikes Back and Rogue One are the dark ones.
Empire Strikes Back so that's interesting. I think we talked about this last time. We talked about horror films and you listing off your horror films. But what are your top 3 movies, just in general, of all time?
That's a really hard question,
I
because
know.
that can change month to month.
Of course.
So
What's this month then?
right now, Evil Dead
Which one?
1.
Okay, Evil Dead 1.
Because I just got to have the start of the, and it's darker than number 2, but it's still funny.
Yeah, not as much
it's not
comedy.
funny, but
No.
if you've watched a lot of horror movies, it's still funny.
Yeah. Okay, Evil Dead.
Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Okay, yeah.
That's just so much fun.
It is. It's a great film.
It's something I'd never think I'd sing along to, but I love it.
Have you gone to the midnight screenings?
I wish I could.
Man, that'd be amazing.
We tried to get it in Kiri Kiri
Oh,
because we wanted to have people dress up and everything.
yeah, that would be amazing. And number 3.
Oh, Jesus. Number three. What have I seen recently? I haven't seen anything I like recently. I'm going to go for something with Arnold in it.
Raw Deal.
I bought that recently.
Of course you did.
It's not good.
It's of its time.
Yeah. Let's go for
Twins.
Running Man.
Oh, good film.
No, changing that now.
Okay.
Because of that,
Great.
I've gone back to my favourite movie, RoboCop.
Original?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
That's cool, man.
It's dark. It's funny. It's
biting satire
Yeah.
and humour, very, very much an indictment of
Yeah.
society and culture. Still applicable now, funnily
It
enough.
is. It is before
It
the
is.
game shows and
Is it?
stuff.
I'd buy that for $1. That's hilarious. Well, look, thank you so much for coming in and sharing, the journey that you've been on through Wastelands. It's something that has been really interesting to see kind of grow and evolve over the period of time. And, I don't know of many local artists local people that are doing comics, rather, that are kind of, they've like, I put myself out there, I've done it again, I'm gonna keep going.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, we're trying to start some local people. We're doing the Make Comics NZ at the library.
Now tell me about that.
It's just a group of us, just Matt, Kelly, Rico, usually me, sometimes Verona. What's her last name? Verena.
Yep.
I always get it wrong.
Verona is where
I would screw up her
Romeo and
last name,
Juliet.
so I'm not going to try it.
Look, I've butchered it on more than one occasion. Verena, you're an amazing woman. I'm sorry.
Yeah, she's great, but I can't pronounce her name.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the 4 most regular people. But last time we had quite a few teenagers and like 10-year-olds come along.
Now, where can people find this?
This is at the library on the second Sunday of every month.
Second Sunday of every month.
We just had to pick a day, and that was it.
So the next one will be kind of that early October.
To make me think about it. I don't know.
Fine, that's what I'm planning on doing. Okay. Well, yeah. Why not?
Yeah.
And you guys also have a Facebook page as well, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. That one, the Make Comics NZ Facebook page, is obviously for the whole country.
Yes.
So we've got a few people on there that contribute regularly.
Yeah.
Some of them are improving a lot. So that's a little shout out to a guy called Shaggy.
Yeah,
he's a young guy, but his artwork is getting a lot better.
Is it
Yeah.
really fantastic, or is it just bombastic?
He's got potential.
Okay, cool.
He has improved a lot.
Nice. Very cool, man. Very cool. On that terrible, terrible dad joke. Shane, thank you so much for coming in and sitting down with us again.
No
I really do appreciate it, man. This has been very cool.
Thank you. And buy my comic.
Art of Evans on Facebook.
Limited edition.
Lovely. Thanks very much. Cheers. Well, there you go, everyone. Shane Evans joining us back in the studio again. Shane, thank you so much for coming in. I do feel a little bit bad. I'll tell you the story and as to why I feel a bit bad. Shane and his partner recently moved into their new house, and they were having a housewarming. And it was great, was cool. We went, hung out, had a look. New place looks amazing. And I was like, hey, I'm going to get you back on the podcast. And he was like, what? And I was like, yep, cool. And I literally pulled my phone out and I was going to go, I said to him, pick a date, but sooner rather than later. And I didn't give him the option of saying no. So Shane, thank you very much for being a good sport again. It's very cool. Kind of almost how the first one happened, but it was wicked just to be able to get you back in and just talk, man. And that's that's what we love doing. We just love having those super cool casual conversations and getting to know people. I'm going to flick to my camera now. I think the big takeaway for me out of this one was I wanted to get a better understanding of the whole process, that kind of goes behind completing a piece of art and then actually getting it into the public, because we've had painters and sculptors and having been a musician myself, I know that process, but all of these different people that go through and going from being a creative to actually putting something out in the public for everyone to look at and critique and review, can be quite daunting for people. And so sort of understanding the whole behind the scenes process for me was very, very cool. I've talked with some other authors before, for example, about how that journey for them has been. Some of them have been absolutely hilarious. I can think of Catherine Lee's podcast, just straight off the top of my head. There's a great part in there when she talks about, I think it was like a sensitivity author or something like that, or something along those lines. But hilarious. It was so good. I highly recommend going back and having a look at her podcast as well. It's great. Actually, go back and check all of them if you like. And I'm going to tell you how you can find them too. So, if you're looking for them on visuals, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, all Northland Artists Conversation. For the audio, you can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. Again, Northland Artists Conversation. And if you're an artist or you know someone who's an artist and you go, yeah, you guys have been going for a while now, you're pretty cool, we'd love to come on, or we know someone that would be good, please feel free to reach out to us. Hello at northlandartistconversation.co.nz. Super simple. If you email either myself or the communications manager Marino, we'll be in touch. We're pretty good. We all work and have jobs. So, within a couple of days, we'll get back to you. And if you would like to support the podcast just a little bit more, we would appreciate it. Like, share, subscribe, follow us. Make sure you do all those amazing social media things so that way you're always up to date with what we've got coming out. But you can actually support us on Patreon as well. And Patreon is an opportunity where you can donate to us and what we do and kind of support us that way. Well, we've got 2 tiers on Patreon. The first tier is cup of coffee, and that's $5 a month. $5 really isn't that much. I'm sure, I don't drink coffee, but I'm sure like a large coffee costs more than $5. And that's just a way of saying, hey, we really appreciate what you're doing. Thank you very much. We support you. Let's keep it going. Second tier we have is affectionately called Coffee Addict. Now that's $20 a month, but that gives you a few extras that you don't get with the cup of coffee tier. So you get a shout out on the podcast. You also get to ask any of our upcoming guests a question. You just simply send a message on the Patreon page and you can go that way while ask a question. Thirdly, you get to know in advance who's coming out, which is very cool. So there's a couple of ways that you can find our Patreon page. First one is you can go to Google, you can type in Patreon, that's Patreon, top right hand corner, create an account, search Northland Artists Conversation, there we are. Pick your tier, load in the details, we're good to go. Second way, and I think the slightly easier way, is to go www.patreon.com/Northland Artists Conversation. Create your account and then pick your tier, go from there. Honestly, it couldn't be any easier. Honestly, we've made it as simple as possible. Just search Northland Artists Conversation. We're there. And that's how we like it, nice and easy. I'm going to flick to my wide camera now. Yes, summertime. Man, it's coming. We're in spring right now. It's absolutely beautiful. We've had a few days of sunshine, a bit of rain today. That's okay. We'll take the good with the bad. It's going to be one of those, I feel like it's going to be one of those summers where it's going to be warm. Hopefully not humid, but I will go with warm. And you know what? After the summer that we had 2023, I will take warmth. It's why it's Northland. It's a beautiful place. We have amazing beaches and we have amazing culture, and we celebrate that here on every podcast we do. So on that beautiful high note, my name is Mark Kelly. Thank you very much from myself and the entire Northland Artists Conversation team. We appreciate you. We love that you come back and visit us, and we will see you guys real soon.